What's going on, everybody? So today I wanted to give a couple updates. One about Spanish. So this will be the Spanish update. The next one will be a Russian update. It'll be more in depth in regards to like my approach and what I've been doing so far. So I think that one would be fairly interesting. The Spanish ones are pretty simple because we kind of already know how the process goes. You just get a bit better, a bit better. I mean, this part is at this point is getting hard to kind of notice. Um, like when someone you're really improving or not in language. So just kind of going through some things, how is Spanish going at work and everything like that. At this point, basically everything's going well. I'm able to perform my job well, but I kind of wanted to kind of talk about this too, because like you still kind of feel like an idiot at times. Like there's times where you feel super fluent and you can say what you want to say for the most part, but then you got situations where like you'll just completely but like butcher something. Not really. Maybe it's not that big of a deal for the person in the interlocutor or whatever, but or the other person you're talking to. But for me, I would I would hope that the experience becomes something similar to English, but it's still I'm quite fluent, but I'm quite fluent, but I'm not exactly like my Spanish isn't anywhere near my English, and it's interesting. Even though I've been speaking for hours a day, for months at this point, and even then I still hop on Discord every now and again and speaking Spanish with people on the weekends or whatever. So not to practice, just to like hang out, but it's interesting how it doesn't. It's one of those things where you reach a certain point where speaking more isn't really gonna move the needle. I don't think people talk about this kind of thing much when they get into the depths of improving output ability past a certain point, right? They talk about getting fluent, but no, not too many people talk about what do you do after, right? When you're already quite fluent, because you still don't. And I guess Matt versus Japan is definitely one of the people who talks about bridging that gap between fluent and a native speaker, because people pretend like it's actually like they're like the same. It's like not even there doesn't really exist a native speaker. No, bro. Like native ability, just that automaticity, that subconscious kind of prospects is just incomparable, right? Like right now, my mind is blank, you know, and I'm speaking perfect English for the most part. But when I'm speaking in Spanish, if I'm thinking about various things, or if I've just never encountered a way to say a thing, if I've never encountered a way of saying a thing in English, I can still say it grammatically correct with no issues. Might just have to pause and think, like, how do I say this to you? But it's still gonna. I'm thinking more about words even in that situation, as opposed to like, do I use a subjunctive here, or do I do little things like right now with my Spanish is like I notice. So basically, what I'm saying is I'm kind of plateaued out. I think in terms of how good I can get by just speaking, right? Because you can only when you're speaking, you can only practice or you can only refine what you already know. My Spanish model is quite developed at this point, and I know quite a lot. But when it comes to, I notice there's like holes in my speaking when it comes to like using certain words. So I noticed I didn't use aunque yo sé perfectamente cómo usarla or whatever, but I don't say aunque much. I noticed this before. I also noticed I don't say. Oh, I was just thinking about this word. Oh, lo más que, lo menos que, like whatever. Lo más que, lo más estudias, lo menos que disfrutes, or whatever. I don't know. Disfruta. I don't know. Whatever, like that construction, I don't use a lot. I'm still a little iffy with the si te hubiera like buscado antes, si lo hubieras buscado antes, whatever. That kind of habrías, whatever. I know how to use it. I'm not saying this is stuff I don't know how to use or haven't acquired, but it's stuff that's in the little idiosyncrasies when I'm speaking in Spanish. I notice I don't ever use them, even though I know how to use them. So I made a point of using discovering things that I realize I don't say a lot. Like I don't say like por lo tanto. There's like a lot of words that like, wow, don't I say that? It's super simple. And so trying to incorporate as much stuff into my Spanish, like as a result, to get it more robust. I'm getting much better with idioms. You know, like so now at this point, because when you're watching content and you know all the words, then you just get to the point where idioms become more natural. So you start to really, when you understand all the words in the content, and then you start looking for meaning inside the meaning. So I like idioms and stuff like that. And so I've been getting more absorbing, realize I've been absorbing idioms. So like, no, like one that I learned was no das pasos sin guarache. I learned that from a telenovela. It means like you don't take a step without a sandal. Meaning like you don't do anything. You don't. What's one we say in English? You can um maybe I don't know. You do things. You don't do favors without compensation essentially. But it's like you do things with an open hand, or you help with a open. I don't know. I don't know if there's a exact phrase that kind of equates it, but yeah, there's like a bunch of phrases I've been learning here and there, just not from study, just from like seeing it a bunch, watching these like telenovelas and whatever. And I want to barley. I'm I'm kind of at a crossroads in terms of accent. Like even when I'm speaking quickly and I'm speaking to someone, like it doesn't the language, even after so much practice speaking Spanish, it doesn't always feel super fluid and super at ease. My accent sometimes, especially the R, it's like todavía me cuesta, or like hay momentos que like when I'm trying to and I'm speaking quickly and I'm trying to lightly tap ra, 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 it just feels weird. It doesn't feel like I've done this a billion times. It feels like I'm consciously having to make keep it on track, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it'll slip and it'll. I mean, even now, I still struggle with the R when it comes to being very relaxed. So, for people who don't know, once you get to a certain point with your, if you're working on accent, you get to a certain point where you have to over exaggerate and over enunciate everything, and then you get to a point where you need to dial that back and learn how to relax. So I've dialed that back and learned how to relax really well, but I find that when I relax, it's not quite fitting the same molds as a native speaker. It's oftentimes my the R is like a little too soft. Like people be thinking I'm like Paraguayan, for example, because my the R is so soft when or I just don't say it. Like, and I think it has to do with like obviously the articulation of my mouth, but I think it's because again my tongue is still a little too stiff. Because in English we stiffen the tongue when we're pronouncing an R or a lot of letters L. Um, you know, we stiffen the tongue in a lot of letters. But in Spanish, you don't ever stiffen the tongue or the back of the tongue specifically. I don't think you stiffen the tongue in any at all in Spanish. But yeah, and so I think when you're speaking quickly, my tongue kind of stiffens and it makes it harder for it to like trill, the certain words. But I mean, it's one of those things where like when you're diving into the depths past fluency, like well past fluency, into getting into the land beyond. People don't ever really talk about that. They talk like fluency is the finish line when it's really like it depends on your goal. I think it can be a finish line for a lot of people, but I think fluency is like let's assume basic fluency. I think basic fluency is less impressive than you realize. Not saying it's really less impressive, it's very impressive, but it's like the impression you get if you want to speak a language, you're like, "Oh, I want to speak that language." And then someone just gives you basic fluency, right? And like just be happy with that. And you can't get any better, you know. I think a lot of people would be content with it, but I think there's also a lot of people that be like, eh, because basic fluency comes with a lot of uncertainty. For me, I'd be excited because if I could improve it, I would be excited because that'd be the beginning. Like, okay, I'm starting here, so that means I can get better. Cool, and I'm excited. But a lot of people, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think it's interesting where I feel really good, but then because you nail so much stuff, the stuff that you still kind of struggle with become all the more glaring. And so then it just drives home the point that, native level is, or not even native level, like language learning is a lifelong journey, because I mean, I'm able to enjoy like the vast majority of content. I still haven't watched La Casa de Papel. I need to. I watched the first episode. The first episode's kind of tough, but you can understand it. But I'm sure I would get used to it as I get through the show. But I can watch shows in Spanish, no subtitles, perfectly fine. I can enjoy any kind of content or media. Obviously, there's some stuff you're not gonna understand. I can talk with people on phones, or whatever, Spanish speakers from all kinds of different countries, all kinds of horrible connections, and understand them. Every now and then I run into someone I have to really focus in it, and it gets easier. But it's one of those things where my Spanish ability is as good as it's ever been. Like like it's like night and day compared to where it was even in like my 1,500 hour video. But it doesn't feel like it, man. It doesn't feel. It feels, you just get so used to the stuff you can say and what you can't. It's just like whatever. So it's an interesting point, like that's what kind of made me or motivated me to like change languages, because it's, which is hard for me honestly, to stop learning, or you're never gonna stop learning, but like to stop focusing on one particular language. So it took me a while to stop focusing on Esperanto and start learning Spanish. It took me a while to do the same thing with Russian and officially start Russian. Like I said, update for how that is going in another video, but it's interesting. It's just an interesting kind of cycle we're in. It's just like, yeah, no, it's learning a language for sure is a lifelong journey. Because even now, like I'm like, man, I'm okay. So I'm almost 6 years in. I think, yeah, I'm 5.5 in, right? Because I started in 2020, been way through 2020. So yeah, so at the 5 year mark, basically. Um, has it even been? I guess you can. I didn't start. I'd have to check, but I didn't officially start until like March of 2020. But yeah, no, it's and even then, I'm like, man, I'm thinking, yeah, 10 years from now, if I still keep studying it, like I should be pretty flipping good. Like vocabulary wise, don't have any issues. There's some words I don't know if they're super slangy or whatever, but I mean, 99. Most content I'm understanding at 99% clip, and like the vast majority of content that I've watched or see, whether it be watching a news broadcast, they didn't use a single word I didn't know. It was like a 20-minute news broadcast from Chile. So obviously they weren't speaking Chilean Spanish, but it's news Chilean. But um, yeah, it's just one of those things, man. You're just kind of in the end game, but then you just have those days, man, where you're flying. 1 minute you're cruising, you're helping people out, everything's going well, and in none of this, I should preface this: my abilities in Spanish don't inhibit me in any way in my job, which is great, it's phenomenal. But it's just one of those things where like I have so many moments, not maybe a couple moments of call, and they're not like catastrophic moments. It probably doesn't even communicate that well or show like I really messed up in a call, but like to me it feels catastrophic because it just, my mind went one way, and then oh, and then I had to repeat. I'm like, oh my god, where did I get that from? So like even like just grammar usage, forgetting basic conjugations. Like I forgot no lo haces, or no lo haga. I said like no lo haces instead of no lo hagas, por favor, and I'm like, oh my god, it's such a basic thing. How do you forget the basics? Like, but it's not even forgetting the basics. I know the basics. I just don't. When you're speaking, you have no time. Your mind isn't thinking, so the chance for errors or mistakes to occur are quite frequent. So it's one of those things. Will I ever be able to? My concern is, will I ever be able to shut my brain off completely, stop the monitor, and let my brain flow? Will I be able to let it flow and cruise without any issues? That's what I'm kind of worried about, to be honest. I'm like, what about 10 years from now? And I still have to worry about how I speak. Or, even when I'm in a group of natives, sometimes I want to say something really quick, but I know it's going to come out wrong because I haven't had a chance to, you know, like check what I'm saying. You know, sometimes the words don't come to me fast enough like they would for a native. So I was in a Discord call with like four native speakers, and we were goofing off talking about stuff. And I'm like chilling because I'm kind of tired, so I'm not talking a lot. But everyone speaking Spanish, um, and they were saying stuff, and like I wanted to comment in certain ways, but I couldn't respond fast enough. Like the words didn't come to me as quickly as it did for native speakers. So there's still that gap in terms of how quickly it can the language can come to you. Um, and so you end up looking more passive or not talking much. A part of it is because one, I was kind of tired. Two, it's like five people in the group, but it's still even on my best day because I'll have that at work when eating lunch, right? And everyone's talking and speaking Spanish, and you're just like, I want to comment on the words, and then they're talking about something else, or somebody else already commented, and now you can't jump in. It's like, or you feel weird because it's like it's just one of those things where I'm like, I wonder if that will bridge the gap where it's like closer and closer. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping after a few years that it will bridge that gap. That I will be able to, at the very least, like not necessarily. I'm not worried about speaking 100% correctly. The errors get less and less frequent, but I'm more worried about like how quickly can I really speak the language when it comes to speaking with a group of natives. And so for me, I get hype when I see someone like Metatron with his English, or like really high level English speakers, and I'm like, okay, they probably could. They're pretty much just native level, but with a slight accent or whatever. And so I'm like, when I see those kind of people, I'm like, oh, okay, I wanna, I think there's hope for me to bridge that gap, at least in terms of speed and comfort level. So hopefully this doesn't come off as gloomy. I mean, overall it's good. It's just what happens is you discount all the stuff you do good, and you only focus on like the little stuff. So being realistic, or just a recap of my ability, really fluent, understand 98 to 99% of all media essentially, unless it's super super slangy. um Whatever. So like literally virtually, whether it's reading, whether it's, because I even counted, I did a thing where I was counting, like I counted like each page how many words I didn't know. It's usually like two 2 to 5 words per page. Five if it's really really tough. Two if it's kind of not really that bad. And there's plenty of pages where there was none. So literally the amount of words that I knew versus I didn't know in the book was like 98 point whatever whatever, or 99 point whatever whatever. And this was in like a young adult novel or whatever. So realistically, I'm at a point in fluency at a level where I'm good. Like I can leave the language alone. I can do whatever. So I don't want me being kind of negative. I don't want it to overshadow the fact that my Spanish is really good. At this point, it's not braggadocious to say it or anything like that. It's just that's the reality. And the problem is, the thing is, it's gotten to a point where it doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't. I'm not like giddy, like, oh, I get to speak Spanish. It's just utterly normal at this point. So, once you get to that point, your Spanish is good when it feels just utterly normal, and then but at the same time that. But it's also kind of sad because you're like, dang, I don't have the butterflies. I don't get giddy when I'm speaking Spanish. I feel good when I speak Spanish. Like I'm like, oh yeah, it's more like mi gente instead of like, por fin, like I'm speaking this language. But yeah, so at this, I want to leave a little part in here when I'm speaking Spanish to give you guys, I don't know, just in case you want to hear a little Spanish. Probably shouldn't make the whole thing in Spanish, but it is what it is. But pues sí, básicamente es como me siento después de tanto tiempo hablando, aprendiendo español. Es que más o menos el nivel que me encuentro es más o menos muy, muy bueno, pero al mismo tiempo hay momentos cuando no me siento 100% como que 100% cómodo en el idioma. Hay veces que cuando estoy hablando con alguien y estoy tratando de pensar en algo para decir y que no sé exactamente cómo le explico, cómo esa este pensamiento o tal vez esa idea que tengo en la mente. Así que creo que eso depende mucho de, del tema, creo que depende mucho. Muchas veces a mí me ha pasado muchas veces en mi trabajo cuando estoy hablando con alguien por teléfono y estamos hablando el idioma y básicamente después de estoy tratando de ayudarle con algo y no sale, por alguna razón las palabras no salen así como así de fácil o así de simple y creo que eso es algo un poco difícil para mí, pero después de tanto trabajo y más o menos cuando estoy hablando de español es que, no sé, para mí me siento normal. Es como hablar español me siento normal, pero hay veces que no sé exactamente cómo se expresa algo o tal vez lo que pasa, lo más que me frustra es cuando estoy tratando de decir algo simple que yo sé muy bien, no hay problema, como yo sé cómo se dice o cómo se pronuncia o lo que sea, yo sé exactamente lo que tengo que decir y simplemente cuando ya estoy como frente de una persona, simplemente tengo que decir la cosa que necesito. Pero lo que me frustra es cuando no puedo. O sí, las palabras salen, pero se salen mal. Y es que, ay, no, ¿qué? O se me olvidó el subjuntivo. O tal vez estoy tratando de expresar una frase normal, como una frase, o tal vez una estructura como básica, pero me cuesta. Es que, ¿qué? ¿Por qué no puedo decir esa cosa? Así que para mí creo que a este punto, no sé. Cuando estoy hablando con alguien, cuando estoy hablando con nativos, creo que mi habilidad de expresarme es bastante buena, pero no sé, creo que me falta en algunas áreas. Simplemente a ese punto ya me siento muy bien con el nivel que ya tengo. El problema es que no me gusta cuando no puedo como dominar los básicos. Es la parte más frustrante de este proceso, es que todavía me cuesta como expresarme con los básicos. Y la verdad, creo que eso es la parte más frustrante de este proceso. Y pues sí, la verdad creo que eso básicamente es todo que quería como decirles. Así que no sé. Um, yeah, that's my Spanish part. Just gave a little Spanish thing, explained how I felt. But yeah, I mean, the language feels good, man. It feels smooth for the most part. I don't really think about the language like most of the time when I'm saying really a lot of that stuff. But in the middle, I was like, oh, wait, let's say this thing. There's so many little parts when you're speaking a language that okay, this is, I've heard this a million times, I've said this a million times, it goes out smoothly, but then there's always these little bitty um sections or little bitty parts within your speech or your sentence what you're trying to say where you struggle to really, you're like, wait, is it this or is it that, but así es la vida, ¿no? Right? Así es como funcionan las cosas. So, but other than that, man, creo que eso va a ser todo por hoy. Bueno, por este video, porque ya tengo otro que estoy planeando, que se trata del ruso. Así que, yeah. We'll see, man. We'll see how that goes. But I just want to make a quick update video and drop it for y'all. So, deuces, y'all have a good one. No editing, just we dropping them. We're just throwing them out there because I need to make videos, or I want to kind of make some updates, give people updates. So, and the biggest roadblock is like, oh man, now I got to edit this thing. But at some point, I'm going to get onto the train of editing. But right now, I just need to focus on getting videos out and not having them be 40 minutes long. So, appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one. Hopefully, this made some kind of sense. There's a chance it might not. I'm honestly just going off the cuff. I don't want to plan anything. I just kind of wanted to be real and kind of work through what I was talking about and kind of what I've been noticing if I've still been talking. I'm just like, I don't know, man. There's something in there when I'm speaking. It's like, whew, I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for being here. And yeah, catch y'all later. Peace.